the main reason I want to have you here, one is almost all of the people that reach out to our show are facing boundary issues with their in-laws or facing a husband who's hasn't hit them yet, but it's abusive, right? Or they're staring at their 7-year-old and their 14-year-old, they don't know what to do, right? Or their 2-year-old and 3-year-old. Or their sex life falling apart and they don't know how to have a conversation about what happens next. What you have emerged like almost overnight, which we all know is decades of practice, is like really a world-class teacher on, hey, say it like this instead of like this. And it's so countercultural that it's such a gift to people, and you've got a clear way. And I'm always telling the folks who watch the show, man, if you get pissed off at your wife or husband, there's not something wrong with you, right? You probably got a generation of wiring and genetics and the way your parents treated you. Like, you got all these things. What you don't have is a set of skills or set of tools.
Correct.
And so I thought this would be awesome to run some scenarios by you, and you can teach me. This is not my family because I'm perfect at all of this. This is clearly for everybody else, right? So if person X grows up in a home whose mom was real domineering, dad was real quiet, just hid behind a newspaper or behind his iPad, and there's this inner rage that happens, and then your wife comes home 20 years later, and that same story just kicks up again, right?
Yeah.
So husband gets home, he drives up the driveway like real fast. Dinner was at 6. They had just had like a marriage retreat a few months before where he was going to work really hard on being on time because his wife felt disrespected, right? He drives up, he's 45 minutes late, and he's already preparing the story, right? And he was at work, but he's also just kind of scrolling on crap and joking around and laughing or whatever. And he actually feels bad that he's late. But then he also feels pissed that she's going to get mad that he was late. Because I've been working so hard, and I can't just spend 15 freaking minutes talking to my buddies, right?
Yeah.
So he walks in, the 2 kids are there already halfway through the meal, and then he gets that mix of anger and shame. Like, I should be here with my family, and how dare they start without me? It happens at the same time, right? And he looks at her, and she just has that look like, I thought things were going to be different. And he launches into a story. Well, dude, I was walking out the door, and then so-and-so came by, clearly making this up.
Yeah.
And she knows he's lying. And she's at a breaking point. And she thinks, I got him. And suddenly we're at a proxy war over here. And we're fighting about you lied and you never tell the truth. Like, this whole thing happens.
Yeah.
What are some ways that A, she can diffuse that situation? And B, actually get to a place of where we can interact?
Right. It's a hard spot to be. You find yourself on the same battlefield that you felt like you had already won. You know, you have this kind of this one-on-one that's, hey, we had this meeting of the minds. We had an understanding. And then something happens and you fall back into ordinary life, and all of a sudden you realize we don't even know each other again.
It's almost a sense of betrayal.
Very much so. In this sense of, I thought we had a pact. I thought we had a baseline connection. And all of a sudden you realize that connection is broken. Like in a light switch. You know, if you're going to have a light on, there's that circuitry that connects them. But if it's switched off, then it's broken. Then it's dark, and then you're going, I can't see. Where are you? Where am I? And you have that sense of, I'm just feeling around, and that's scary for both people. And if I'm sitting in that room, you know, at a 1,000-foot view, and I'm looking at this family that is going through the same thing. Both of our family, I mean, everybody's family. Yeah, I mean, anybody can relate to that. What comes to mind is 3 things. 1, you can't have that conversation in front of the kids. I believe you're in the similar mindset of, there are certain things you talk about in front of your kids and certain things you don't. Because, and from what I recall, I mean, growing up, if my parents got in an argument, I thought my life was over. You know what I mean? Like if they were in an argument, I mean, even with my kids, if my wife and I are just doing something easy, they're like, what's happening? That shakes them. They don't need that. Second of all is, there is a power in timing and a power in discernment and knowing when to have that conversation. So you know it's not then, and then you know it's later. This guy's coming in. She already knows that he's late. He knows what he did wrong. There's no question.
Right.
And so whenever he comes in, she has a choice at that moment. Do I become the attacker, or do I choose later in that moment to have a conversation, to connect again, to see if this is something he's willing to fix. And you have
That's hard, man.
Very hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Because I want to hit him.
There's nothing easy about it. But you play it out. You play it out that what's she going to do? She stands up. Oh, really? You're going to be late? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I guess it's going to be cold. Go ahead and do it in the microwave. Hey, kids, guess Dad didn't want to come home for dinner. You go, and there it's off. And then all of a sudden, you are the bad one. Yeah, you've already ruined it. Yeah. And if somebody is a scolded dog coming in, there's no use kicking them right then. I mean, they already know. And so what I would tell that mom is you enjoy time with your kids. You finish dinner. Let's do bath time. Let's say prayers. Let's get them in bed. And then you come back and sit down and say, how was your day? That's a power move.
Oh, man. That's the flex of, like, you saying that even makes me go,
Yeah. But imagine the strength that you would also show.
Oh, yeah.
When you sit back and you go, how was your day? Mm-hmm. I mean, that husband's going,
it's a power vacuum, right?
Can you just please yell at me?
Yeah.
Can you yell at me? Like, I already know what I did wrong. Can we just, what's up with you?
Yeah.
But that ability to sit back and have that bird's eye view of I become more confident and I become stronger the less that I put out. I mean, in the scenarios I give it's very much if I add ice cubes to the water or, ice cubes to the drink, you dilute it. And many times we add way too many ice cubes. We want to start off being angry. We want to start off saying all the wrong things. And when it's concentrated, it's you're much more potent. It's not easy. I
also think you give somebody, well, two things I want to touch on. One, there's been some turning in the psychological literature of the last decade or so about it's really important actually to have some level of disagreement in front of your kids because there's a generation taught go fight in the back bedroom.
Yeah.
And you ended up with a generation of young people that started, getting married, and then they'd have their first big fight, and they had no reference point.
Right.
Like, oh, this is over.
Yeah.
We're breaking up. We're getting divorced. We've only been married 9 months. But there's also, you liar, that's...
If she's ready to come full force.
Don't do that in front of
Yeah. And so the husband comes in, and what he's wanting to do when he starts, he's already got a story.
He's going.
Right? So what he's wanting to do is control that narrative before she even has it out. You'll see that a lot when you have a disagreement with somebody. They'll back up, and they'll say, okay, I came in, and when I came in, you did this, and then that made me say this, and that made me say this, right? And so they then become a character in their story. And that's what they're doing. They've become the author and the lead, and the victim, all in one. And that's where you have the chance to continue to pull apart if they're really invested in fixing that and owning that. I mean, because you're catching them in a lie, essentially, is what you're doing.
But there's also a moment where if you're truly invested, and this is hard, man, especially if you've been in an abusive relationship over time, if you're truly invested in healing, there is a chance that at 4:48, as he was getting ready to leave, his boss came in and said, I have to have this before you walk out the door.
Right.
And no text could have that happen, even though y'all had said, hey, if you're going to be late, just shoot me a text. Like, that whole thing just avalanches on you. And you get upset and you get frustrated. That approach does give an avenue for humanity.
That's right.
For me to say,
give it a chance.
No, really, I was texting and driving because I was trying to catch my wife at the hospital. I wasn't just this out of control idiot, right?
Yeah.
So there's some humanity there. And also, man, it just vacuums power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you become the most credible in the room when that happens. Yeah. And so a lot of the times, as an attorney, I might have somebody who makes a snide comment in the courtroom. And one of my favorite moves is, let's say we're at a deposition right now. You're on the other side, and I'm cross-examining you, just like Dustin kind of did. You said, something like, hey, all you attorneys are the worst. You know what? You're the worst thing that could happen in this society. My favorite move is for me to just kind of take it in and go, well, maybe so. That right there is just that little maybe so, okay? I give them nothing in return. I drop their words off a cliff. They go, but you were supposed to catch that.
Yeah.
I say, oh, it's on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, no, you were supposed to catch that and throw it back at me. I said, no, I don't. It's in the trash. I'm not gonna go pick that back up. And so it's that thought of you are completely within your own control of how defensive you get. So if you cannot measure your reaction, then you measure your response. And you do that in a way that always puts you as the most credible, the most confident in the room. But what a power flex every time, because they're expecting me to say, oh, really? We're the worst in the world? And
what about you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, me? What about you?
Yeah.
That's the classic.
It's like a kid coming up and hitting an adult as hard as they can and just not moving.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's such
Yeah.
I'm not going to push you back. I don't have to.
Right. You're not going to react? Oh,
that's even worse.
Okay.
What you've given us is, I think, one of the most important and poignant and hardest lessons in human relationships, which is nobody can truly make you do anything. And man, that's hard to learn.
Yeah.